Study Section 8, Crisis Theory. Introduction. In this study section, you will examine crisis theory as an important theory in social work practice. This theory was developed during World War II, and it was based on two main streams: the psychological, emphasizing the role of ego in personality formation, and the sociological, emphasizing family stress situation and reaction to community disasters. Details will be discussed in this study section. Learning outcomes. After you have studied this study section, you should be able to 1. Identify key factors in the crisis situation. 2. Relate the crisis theory with social work practice. What is a crisis? A crisis in social work practice is defined as an acute emotional upset in an individual's usual steady state, accompanied by a perceived breakdown in his or her usual coping abilities. Parad and Parad, 1990. The acute upset is manifested by physical, psychological, cognitive, and relational distress and symptoms. A crisis can be experienced by an individual independent of others, or by groups of individuals within families, organizations, and communities. Ruben Hill worked on crisis theory and based it on a contemporary issue, which was World War II. Apart from the crisis theory's base in psychology and sociology, it also has its focus on social work practice approach. These are: 1. The diagnostic approach that emphasizes a careful, all-encompassing evaluation of the person in a social situation. And 2. The functionalist outlook, which emphasizes the special needs of clients under prayer and the importance of time as a factor in the casework relationship. The crisis theory. Stressful life events can precipitate a state of crisis, wherein people experience temporary feelings of severe, acute distress and of being overwhelmed or unable to cope in ways that reduce the discomfort or the hazardous circumstances. For some people, particularly when the event is traumatic or catastrophic and outside of their expected life experiences, the resulting crisis may become a significant risk factor for subsequent dysfunctional behavior, impaired physical and social functioning, and acute and prolonged mental disorder. The best way to prevent negative outcomes following exposure to hazardous events is to provide people with immediate emotional, informational, and environmental aid. These are of great concern to social work. Exposure to stressful events is a normal phenomenon in human experience. Therefore, different professionals are involved in crisis intervention, such as social workers, physicians, psychologists, clergymen, police, soldiers, lawyers, nurses, teachers, and other emergency and disaster workers. Crisis causing events. The following are some of the events causing crisis. 1. Psychosocial events. A. Family violence and abuse. B. Crime in the community, schools, and workplace. C. Wars. Loss of beloved ones may lead to depression and mental illness and displacement fallouts. 2. Natural disasters. A. Earthquakes. B. Tremors. C. Flood. D. Drought, famine. 3. Biological events. Epidemic. Hay, cholera, diarrhea. B. Poison. Hay, bird flu, rinderpest. C. Cancer. D. HIV, AIDS. E. TB and leprosy. Crisis theory and social work practice. Social work practice is characterized by frequent encounters with people who have been exposed to potentially hazardous life events or who are in crisis. Indeed, providing crisis intervention services is an everyday experience for most social workers, as people in crisis make up much of their social work practice. Some of the ways in which social work relates with the crisis theory are the following. Social workers formulate and refine the elements of crisis intervention services in the community. Social workers positively intervene in the crisis management system of a community, such as its mental health programs, suicide prevention centers, family service agencies, and medical care system. Social workers also respond to crises in child welfare system, schools, rape and empowerment matters, etc. From the above, we can see that social workers act to ameliorate human suffering and, if possible, to prevent it. The crisis theory provides social work practitioners with a set of basic assumptions to guide decisions about whether to intervene, for whom, and in what ways. Crisis intervention and social workers applying the crisis theory. 1. Social workers should look for opportunity to reduce the exposure to risk events through crisis intervention. Armstrong et al. 1995. 2. Prevention is the major goal of crisis intervention in social work. There are 3 kinds of prevention programs. A. Primary prevention. This decrease in the number of people who experience a state of crisis. B. Secondary prevention. Intervention to minimize the severity of crisis states and to reduce the number of people for whom the crisis results in prolonged functional impairment and psychological disorder. C. Tertiary prevention. This is the maintenance of the degree of impairment or disability and preventing it from worsening, and wherever possible, introduce rehabilitative activities. Other social work practice theories that you may explore are A. Ego psychology, B. Systems theory, C. Role-playing theory, D. Problem-solving theory, E. Gestalt theory, F. Existential theory, G. Cognitive theory, H. Communication theory, and I. Task-oriented theory. Study section summary. In this study section, we examine the crisis theory, which deals with stressful life events precipitated by a state of crisis that is an acute emotional upset in an individual's usual steady state. This state is accompanied by a perceived breakdown in his or her usual coping abilities. The crisis theory has both psychological and sociological bases. The psychological base is the role of ego in personality formation, while the sociological base is the family stress situation and reaction to community disasters. We also noted that social work intervention in crisis stipulates that social workers look for opportunity to reduce the risk of event exposure, showing that prevention is the major goal of crisis intervention. End of study section 8. Thanks for listening.